Welcome, everybody. We're super excited to have you here on this sunny Friday. We made it. There were times this week I wasn't sure that was a guarantee, but we're here and we are pumped to share a little bit more about EWL with you and hopefully answer any questions that you might have. Mart, if you want to go to the next slide, we can do some quick introductions. I'm Angie Emery. I am the current chair of the Membership Nominations Committee, and I'm here with Fran, my co-chair. I'll let you introduce yourself in a minute, Fran. We are pumped to welcome you, like I said, and run through kind of what this process will look like and just share our experiences with you. So Fran, if you want to introduce yourself too.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm so glad you're here with us today. Very excited to talk through this, answer any questions that you guys have. I'm Fran, and as Angie said, I am vice chair for the memberships and nominations, and we're here to help. So let us know how we can help you.
Awesome. Jen and Marit, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go ahead. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jen Dirks. I'm president and CEO of Tempo Milwaukee. I welcome everyone to this really incredible session today. You'll hear a little bit more from me a little bit later, so I will stop the introduction for now.
Awesome.
And hi, everyone. I'm Marit Harms-Spranzi. I am the Director of Membership and Programs at Tempo, which also means I oversee the EWL program. So work with all of our committees, work with our leaders like Angie and Fran to keep things moving, and also happy to answer any questions that anyone has. Welcome.
Some say oversee, some say keep afloat, whatever you want to call it.
All right, so as we get kicked off here, just a couple things. If you could stay on mute, that'll help with any interference, but you can see our chat is active as always. So feel free to share anything there, or we certainly will have time for questions. So, come off of mute at that point. And video is optional. Some people, it sounds like, are eating lunch. Please take your time. But also feel free to shut your video or turn your video on. We'd love to see you. All right, so a couple things. What we're going to cover off today, we'll give you a little bit of the background on EWL, and then we'll really kind of tell you what the program and membership is all about. We'll certainly get to the nomination process in detail so you know what to expect if this is something that you are hoping to pursue in our next nomination period. And we'll have some of the nuts and bolts of timing and materials and all that good stuff in the next steps.
So I think this is my slide, so I'll jump in, Fran, if that's all right.
Yes.
So again, this is just really I say it's a success story of Tempo in that when just the sheer number of those of you on the call, it continues to be really this powerful network and really an incredible strength of Tempo. And so we're really excited about it. So just a couple of brief points of how we got here. This organization, Tempo itself, is 45 years strong. So we were founded in 1975, really as the executive professional women's group here in Milwaukee. Tempo itself is about 450 members strong, all in that C-suite or senior vice president, owners of their own businesses, CEOs in their own rights for the Tempo profile. But we also birthed this Emerging Women Leaders program 5 years ago, and really excited about the legacy of this network and the strength of this network. You can see the goals on the screen here: create a space for mid-career up-and-coming women, provide them mentoring opportunities. Fran and Angie will talk a little bit about that later, and then champion certainly the next generation of Tempo leaders. So this was the Emerging Women Leaders initiative was really Tempo's response to how do we create that future generation of Tempo leaders? What does our relevancy for the next 45 years look like? And so this is really how our Emerging Women Leaders initiative started. We started with 40 women. We continue to grow and evolve. I am daily, hourly, by the minute impressed with the group, this network of leaders. You've met two of them just briefly, but you will get to hear from them. They are incredible. They have three of them, sorry, Marit. I don't want to forget Marit at all. Certainly the bread and butter in terms of keeping this initiative afloat and what we're doing. And so all of that feedback and how we grow, how we evolve starts with this leadership group. So I'm really, really impressed. We are on a steady incline in terms of the interest around this initiative. So thank you all for being here. You'll hear this time and time again, but it goes without saying, what you get from or get out of EWL is what you put into it. So you'll hear a little bit about more of that from Angie and Fran. So I'm going to turn that over to Marit.
Thanks, Jen. So now a little bit more about who EWL is. So Tempo's mission is to further the impact of women leaders, which certainly is EWL's mission as well, but specifically narrowing down, EWL's mission is to connect professional women who are community-minded change makers and inclusive up-and-coming leaders. And we'll talk a little bit more about our profile later on, but I assume all 60, 70 of you on the Zoom, you fit that profile. That's why you're interested. That's why you're here. And our vision is really to just be the premier inclusive organization for emerging leaders in our community. And we do that through programming, events, mentoring, and community impact. And our core pillars, which are the same as Tempo's, are leadership, mentoring, and networking. Everything we offer relates back to those pillars. And some stats that I want to throw out. So Jen mentioned EWL was founded in 2015, and here we are 6 years later, growing from 40 members in the initial class to now 284. And actually, I think it's 280 because we just had 4 members move into Tempo, which is really exciting. But this slide really just shows the diversity of industry, of function, of job titles that we have within EWL, which makes us different from other organizations that might be focused on just marketing professionals or finance professionals. This group really is for everyone. And you can see like even the growth of our entrepreneur space. 5 years ago, we didn't really have that, but we continue to attract different industries, functions. And certainly part of diversity is race and ethnicity too, which is something that Tempo is focused on as a whole. And we are within EWL as well to make sure that our membership reflects the community of Milwaukee as a whole.
Hey, Marit, if I can just chime in really quickly here. If you've heard me talk about EWL before, you know that I often reference the magic of EWL. And I think this slide really helps. This slide and that specifically the 284 number really reflects, Jen mentioned earlier, Tempo saw this need for, you're not yet ready for Tempo, but you're maybe out of that kind of, young professional. There's a few organizations here that cater to that group. And I so strongly believe that this is why Tempo EWL brings the magic that it does, because it really is targeted on this group of us, sort of what I like to call in the middle, or I think I said last week, we're kind of like in the teenage phase. We're in the puberty of our career where we're not yet kids, but we're not yet full-blown adults. And it's this kind of, it's reminiscent of that time where it's a little awkward. We're getting more responsibility. Maybe we're managing people for the first time. And there's a lot of challenges that women in this segment of their career face that you maybe don't want to go to your boss or your mentor and say, I don't know what I don't know. But you are also responsible for guiding a next generation. And so there is magic to be had in a bunch of your peers who are going through the same challenges and successes and growth spurts that we are. And so I think the 284 reflects that there was definitely a need there. And I think that's where the magic happens in the things that we referenced earlier, the programming and the connection with your peers. It truly is a group of peers to share, connect, grow, learn with. So I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. And I think this quote testimonial from a member speaks exactly to that. we're all in similar career places. EWL is not based on your title. It's not based on your age. We have such a range of age of women in our group, but it's really based on the things that we're experiencing in our career.
Definitely. All right, I think this is me. We're going to some quick facts about EWL. So it is, excuse me, it is a bit of a feeder program for Tempo Milwaukee. That's kind of the intended trajectory. So as of just very recently, we've gone to now 15 former Emerging Women Leader members have gone on to join the Tempo Milwaukee group. Again, this blows my mind every time. A 607% membership growth since it was founded just a few years ago, really. And I think even more, I have more pride for the second half of the statistic. It's a 92% retention rate. So again, Jen mentioned you get what you put into it, but a 92% retention rate tells me that regardless of where you stand on how much you put in, everyone is getting something out of it, and there's something for everyone. We have 8 committees that help shape what this group looks like, from the nomination membership committee that you're talking to today, community involvement, mentoring, our connect circles. There's a number of different committees that we really, it is a, you know, by EWL for EWL. So these committees help shape all of the different awesome pieces that you can get out of it. And almost half of our members serve on those committees. So it is a highly engaged, I mean, it shouldn't come as a huge surprise that women labeled emerging leaders are also interested in shaping the organizations they're a part of, but almost half of our members do serve on those committees. And then 65% of our members participate in one or both of our mentoring opportunities. So there's 2 different mentoring opportunities. One is our EWL Connect circles, which is groups of, you know, 6 to 8 of your peers in a very, it's a very sound trust tree experience with your peers to be able to talk through some of those things we talked about earlier, your challenges, celebrate your successes. I joined my Connect group shortly after joining EWL in 2017, and I was 3 months off of maternity leave with twins in a new role at a small company. I honestly didn't know what way was up. And we are keeping this like running recap from our Connect group that I think we've now seen 6 job changes, 3 babies born, 2 marriages, and career change. So it's a great mentoring opportunity to kind of have that sounding board and peer mentorship. And then another incredible mentoring opportunity is a one-to-one program with Tempo members. So you can be matched up with a member from Tempo Milwaukee and really just like learn and gain from the insight that they have. So as you can see, 65% take advantage of that and see the value that it has to offer. So those are 2 of many benefits of membership. So this is, I would say, a very comprehensive, albeit not totally inclusive list of all of the ways that you can plug in and benefit from the organization. Dues are $385. They're paid annually, and that fee goes to bring all the things you see here listed to life. There are program meetings. There's a specific professional development workshop, which is my ultimate favorite day of the year. We are invited to a number of Tempo programming opportunities, Tempo Talks. Huge kudos, I'll pause here, huge kudos to the Tempo team for really pivoting, word of the year, pivoting to this virtual platform. They've continued to just truly pump out the valuable programming that we came to expect out of the organization. So there's still Tempo Talks, a virtual monthly series, Tempo Real Talks. I think one of the most impressive and engaging pieces of Tempo and EWL is the willingness to share vulnerability, to dig into topics that maybe in our other professional world are sort of shied away from. This group leans into that, and you see it in those Tempo Real Talks. EW Explores, back when we were allowed to explore things, we saw social outings, speed networking opportunities, and those will live again. We've had some really cool exploration into virtual networking, which again, we're just finding ways to make it work and still get that connection that makes this group what it is. I talked about the mentoring opportunities. Coffee Connections was something new born out of COVID. It's a random pairing with another member monthly to just kind of connect, talk, learn, share. Volunteer opportunities with our community involvement committee, who helps us stay plugged into Milwaukee. Mommy's talking right now. And then also the opportunity to get involved in committees, and last but certainly not least, access to a network of 800 women leaders in Milwaukee. And I really want to reiterate here that it's not just access, it is truly a group welcome and ready to connect with you on just about anything you can think of. And I say this kind of jokingly sometimes, but when I look around at what my life looks like in 2021, so much of it was shaped by the willingness of Tempo and EWL members to help me, to teach me, to help me get a new job, to help me learn how to parent in this now. It's not just access to, it is truly a directory where there is not a single time I have blindly reached out to someone on that directory without being welcomed with open arms, a brain to share, and honestly, just nothing but encouragement. So that alone is, don't tell Jen and Mara, but I would pay more than $385 a year. We also have, I also want to mention, there is a Facebook group and a LinkedIn group. So again, in this time where we're entirely virtual, we have access to sharing things on there. There's actually now I'm going to butcher the name, but like a working mom EWL Tempo group. So those are highly active and highly engaged, and a great way to continue to tap into networks within the group, even when we can't be with each other.
And if you didn't notice, we really encourage members to bring their full selves to meetings,
Here I am.
presentations, and their children. So that's Marlo, future
Do you
EW.
want to wave? Mm-hmm. Wave.
Hi, Marlo.
Let the people, they see you.
We'll give you a break. Is it Fran's turn next?
It can be, yes. Okay, great. I shall pick it up here. So you're paying these dues and you have some expectation of what membership means for you. And so you're probably wondering what else or what is expected of you. And, truly, Andy talked about all of the different things that are available as part of membership, but there are no formal engagement or attendance expectations. This is really, again, what you want to put into it. And what you want to get from it. And so there isn't anything that's required of you in terms of participation of committees or events or anything like that. You can engage in the programming as you see fit. It really, there's plenty of communication from the Facebook page to emails, event calendar. You can really kind of plan it out. If you're anything like me, your calendar is probably bonkers and you've got other things going on in your life as well. So you can really focus on what's going to be the most meaningful and most valuable for you. And then we also are, looking at ways to help you get familiar. 284 women, I think, is a lot and a little at the same time. And so it sometimes helps to just have somebody to go to get a little bit more familiar. So we definitely look to create that sort of buddy or first introduction to help you get familiar. And there's a couple of these slides throughout where we're just kind of showing, the women getting together. This was one of the community engagement, I think, right? Everybody's wearing masks, so it was recent. And this was a community engagement. It was a holiday drive for a number of different organizations. And you can see even when we're doing drop-offs, there's still moments of connection. And this was one that you could engage with on your own time and just make that donation. And there are others where we're coming together at different points in time. So again, you can kind of choose your own adventure in a way.
I think too, Fran, worth my selling pitch for EWL is, for the most part, we're all incredibly busy. Like you said, your calendar is bonkers. We're all involved in many different things. And I have yet to join anything EWL related, whether it be programming, a social something, virtual webinar, where I didn't leave feeling like it was a valuable use of my time. And I think, especially at this point in our careers, many of us are starting families. There's a mirror image of this one downstairs. I don't have a lot of time to spend on things that aren't going to bring me value. And I think especially when I think, before I learned about EWL, when I think about networking, that always seemed like a chore to me, because what if it was a complete flop and now I've invested, time away from my work or my family, and I'm now 4 years in and still have not attended something that didn't bring me value. It might have been connecting me to somebody I didn't know. Maybe I learned something. Maybe I found a new way to plug in. Maybe I got a new job from it. It spans the spectrum, but I've always found incredible value in everything I've participated in, which I can't say for a lot of things in my life.
Great. So you're probably wondering, if this is sounding familiar to you or something that you aspire to, what does the membership criteria look like? So a couple things, and this will kind of give you a head start in thinking about what a nomination will look like. But again, as Angie mentioned, there's a lot of community around where we are in our careers, and so one of the things that we're looking for is just 6 or more years of professional experience, and that really it's for everybody's benefit that we're kind of in similar states or have recently been in a similar state. So that's one, probably the only specific piece of criteria, I guess I would say. The demonstrated commitment to community can look really different for a lot of different people, and depending on how you're engaged in your community, and what efforts you've put your time into. And I'll say, even from my perspective, this was something that drew me to EWL because I wanted more of this in my life, and I was not exactly sure where to start. So even an aspiration or a desire to become more involved in your community. Support from someone in leadership at your place of employment. And one of the reasons, well, a couple key reasons that we look for this is one, that it speaks to that you are that person of notice in your organization that is moving and shaking and has that high potential. And also it kind of helps pave the way for you and your engagement with the organization, just that someone in your organization knows that this is sort of part of you and where you're spending your time. And then nomination needs to come from a Tempo or EWL member. There are 800 of us, so that is very specific. But certainly reach out to Angie, myself, Marit, if you're interested and maybe not yet fully connected with someone in Tempo or EWL. And then we ask that you've attended at least one event prior to your nomination. And that's just, again, to make sure that this is something that you want to become engaged in. We want you to get a feel for what it's like. And so that is one additional piece of criteria. But maybe even more important is the values that you that you're looking for, but you also demonstrate, and those being, connecting and inspiring with other women leaders. We're seeking that in every person that is looking to become involved in EWL, and sharing the expertise in the learning community. I know Angie mentioned the Facebook page, or the Facebook group, excuse me, that, there's so much sharing happening even on a daily basis, but also as we come together through these events and committees and groups, everyone involved is looking to learn from each other. And also because it is such an impressive group of women, we're also sharing the expertise that we're bringing to the party as well. Valuing, collectively advancing career and success. That looks different for everyone, but it's really that drive, that underlying drive that we see in all of our members. And then the inclusive membership experience. Can't emphasize enough that it is an organization with a lot of different industries, ages, career backgrounds, families, cultural, everything. And that's part of the learning experience. And so we are a highly inclusive organization, and we're looking for women who also value that.
So what we need from you, we do ask for a brief written statement sharing why you would like to be a part of EWL. Again, going back to the kind of mutually benefit situation that Fran was talking about. We want to know what you want to get out of EWL, but also what you think you can contribute to it. Again, going back to that magic of EWL, that's where we get that high engagement. It's not just what you're going to get from it, it's also what you're going to bring from it. And then the 1 to 2 letters of support. So someone in a leadership position at your place of employment. A second one is optional if you need it. And I want to reiterate, with the qualifications that Fran shared and with this nomination process, if there is something that feels like it could be a barrier to the nomination, to your own nomination, please feel free to reach out. If you are, self-employed, if you're an entrepreneur and there isn't someone in your organization because you are your organization, talk to us. We can figure something out. It's definitely not a barrier to entry. This is kind of our broad strokes of what qualifications look like. So don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions, but we do ask for those letters of support for the same reasons that Fran mentioned. And it also helps us get to know you a little bit better. And then what we will ask for, so that's from you, the nominee, and then from your nominator, on the next slide, we'll show, again, it needs to be someone from EWL or Tempo. They will actually do the submission on your behalf of the materials. That's a great person to talk about, discuss what you would want to include in that letter, what that letter should look like, who it should come from. And then the way the process works, again, this organization is so heavily dependent on the relationships built and the connection factor between members that one of the ways that we kind of screen these nominations is to have a discussion with your nominator and ask, what are your reasons for supporting this person? What do you think she'll get from it? What do you think she'll benefit from? And really, again, just getting to know you a little bit better. We have honestly had a real struggle in pinpointing what the words are to describe our members, because as it's been mentioned, it is such a broad group of industries, perspectives, backgrounds, experience, age, point of life, point of career. We've had a really hard time nailing down an EWL member is this, this, and this. And so this conversation really helps some of that shine about you so that we can get that understanding of why you'd be such a good fit for the organization. So these are kind of some of the questions that we'll be asking your nominator. Again, make sure that they are, really arm them, I would say, to make sure that they are capable of having this conversation. I know, sometimes you might work with somebody and be really close at work, but not know what they do outside of that for community involvement. So make sure that your nominator is prepared to be able to have a thoughtful conversation with you, with someone from the review committee, and then they will do the submission on your behalf. And again, we have another quote from a member. I don't know if you've seen one of these before. It's like a Zoom screenshot from a meeting that's held virtually. Jokes. Okay, so let's talk about next steps. This is kind of what timing is going to look like. The nomination window does only stay open for 2 weeks, so it's a short period of time to actually get your stuff in. So I would highly advise that if you are interested in this, you start having conversations with someone who could be your nominator now and start prepping those letters, getting your written statement so that when the window opens, you're ready to submit. We hold that period open for 2 weeks. It's all online. Again, your nominator submits, and then in early April, we hold those conversations with your nominators. We collect all of the materials, Marit and team organize and get everything ready so that we can have a relatively smooth review process. Decisions are made, and then in early May, we'll welcome new members, and there will be a new member orientation held to kind of re-inform you about all of the information and more that we've spit at you today and help you figure out ways that you can get engaged and plugged in.
All right, so what happens next? This little bit of a reiteration of what Angie just shared, but need to get connected with your nominator and stay tuned. There will be more events to attend, so if you haven't already attended something, and then prepare, get those documents ready. If your resume is not up to date, we highly recommend you get that up to date. So that everything that your experience, especially when we're thinking about years, is fully represented. Make that super easy, and collecting those letters, and then submit. So this, again, the nominator will do this, but you need to equip them with all of that information in good context. And again, the timeline being that first 2 weeks of March.
And Marit does keep a running list. So Marit, you will send something to that list, right, when the nomination opens up so that they have they're pinged and reminded?
Yep, I have a running list, and then everyone on this call will remind you as well to then just get in touch with your nominator and get what you need.
Awesome.
I have a ton of questions
Oh boy, I
that
haven't been
people
looking
sent
at
me
the chat at all.
privately. So I'm
Okay.
gonna actually stop sharing the screen so we can see everyone. But here's our contact information. If you want to send a private email, have further questions that are maybe more specific. So let's get to the questions.
Let's do it.
All right. Sorry, scrolling. There's so many. Okay, so we have someone who actually currently lives out of state right now, but is planning on moving back to Milwaukee, to the area. What would you recommend to her? Should she get nominated? Would there be ways for her to engage, even though she's not in Milwaukee currently?
This is probably a personal opinion. I don't know what tempo sanctioned rules would say, but I would say you picked a great time in this virtual world to get plugged in, because it's not like we're doing a whole lot in person anyways. So let's call this a silver lining of COVID, that you can actually tap into the Tempo network before you're here in ways that you probably wouldn't have been able to before. So I would say, yeah, might as well. If you know your destination is here in Milwaukee, let's get you plugged in. This would be a great group to get connected with and meet people before you actually land here in the good land.
Yeah, I think I would say if you're not planning on moving to Milwaukee, if you're staying out of state, probably not the best fit, because you would miss out on those in-person activities, but it's definitely a question we're getting more, and maybe even considering down the line, like, what does a just virtual membership look like? But at this time, it's really that one level of 385, those things that you saw on the screen.
Cool.
All right. Is there anything specific you're looking for in the letter of recommendation from the leader?
Yeah, I think it is really just that demonstration of ownership, of leadership of something. And I want to add to there that doesn't necessarily have to be reflected in like direct reports or what your title is. It's truly just demonstrating the fact that you do take leadership, you have that kind of initiative that makes you, as Fran pointed out, like kind of just that identified rising star within your organization. So a lot of times we see that come from a direct supervisor, but if there's someone that you work with more closely that would be able to better speak to, you know, kind of who you are and your leadership skills and the demonstrated examples that you've had, I would say get a little creative in who can best relay that kind of information. So there isn't any sort of specific, you know, level or words or job description bullets that we're looking for. It's more so just that exemplified leadership somewhere within your team, your organization, your company. You know, we've seen that come through in things like leading an an employee resource group, or a community involvement project at work. It doesn't necessarily have to be exclusively in title or management of individuals.
All right, this question came up a couple of times. Is there a cap on how many members you will let in?
I think I know the answer, Mari. You can
This is a test.
Thanks for that. No, there is not. So we don't have any set numbers, no set quotas, and no cap. We really, you know, I think we've had a larger class each time, every nomination period. Yeah, they're nodding. Okay, so yes, we love growth. We love to see new faces coming into the community. So no, there is no cap.
Yep. And I just had to find this stat. Last year, 2020, we had 84 new members, and we had 2 nomination periods, so about 40 each time. We say, you know, the more the merrier. Whoever fits this criteria and really needs this group, like, come on in. I think if we start to see the retention dropping or people not being engaged as much, that's when we would maybe start to think about a cap. But at this point, the more the merrier. All right. All right. So we mentioned we want people to attend at least one event before they join. Does this count as an event? Sure, it does. And I think that's not a hard and fast rule. It's just more to make sure someone being nominated really knows what they're getting into, has a feel for our community and our programming, to just do that additional check that this is the right space for you. Would you agree, Angie and Fran?
Yeah, definitely. This gives you a good idea of, and we're coming right out and telling you what it's like. Whereas like you attending another event, you're kind of a part of it. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I mentioned like we have a hard time nailing down a unified description of what an EWL member looks like. I think I would say the same for what participating in an EWL event feels like. You know, they're all a little bit different, but I think you walk away feeling that confirmation that this is a group I want to be a part of. And so it's really beneficial to you as well to make sure that it would bring the value that we're saying it will bring to you. So we think it's just important for both, for you to kind of get a feel for it and not just hear it from us.
Yep. This question
And sorry, Mart, I will say one more thing to that. If you are interested in getting connected with other members and hearing more of that like individual experience, our membership committee is at the ready, virtual coffee, virtual lunch, whatever you might want, to just have a conversation and kind of share what their experience is, because again, it is a choose your own adventure. So if you can't make an event, but you do want more of that perspective, we're happy to connect you with someone from our committee who can kind of give you what their experience has been like.
Angie, and can I just jump in here really quick? If I noticed that we do have a couple of EWL current members, and if we do have time, you know, like maybe a Jasmine, or I'm looking at Stephanie, or Andrea, Maggie, if they wanted to kind of share their experience, not to put them on the spot, but if we do have time, I think that would
Absolutely.
be a great consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, we just have a couple more questions and then we should definitely have time for that. So this one has come up a couple of times too. We talked about the diversity of age, title, industry function in EWL, but can you speak to really that age range? We have a lot of like younger moms who are having their first children. Would someone who has more adult children and more work experience, but maybe not yet at that tempo level, feel included in EWL and get benefit from us?
Yeah, I think, again, our current membership reflects that kind of broad range of individuals, and we as a membership committee have this conversation once, twice a year as we're about to open membership to say, like, do we need to be any more restrictive? Are there qualifications that we would want to refine? And we keep coming back to, again, that kind of magic of the point in your career you're at. And I think most of us on this call would agree, like the path to get there looks different for everyone. And so we have members who are, you know, have many more years of experience, to your point, Mart, have adult children, but are at a level in their career that is similar to my own or someone else's. And so there is still that ability to share. And I think I'll give a personal example. Like, I adore the fact that I can tap on members who have children who are 10 and say, you know, tell me what that's like when they can wipe their own bottom, or, you know, they can give insight that is relevant to me still. So I think there's beauty in that broad spectrum. I think there's value for everyone. And again, with 284 in EWL and the additional 600 something in Tempo, you will find someone to connect to that has a life that looks like yours, I'll say.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to answer that for that group in general, but I think it's a personal choice. Looking at the benefits, is this worth the $385 to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm happy to talk more to anyone individually about that.
And again, if you want to be connected, I mean, we have members that are, again, that spectrum. If you would like to be connected to a member who has a situation similar to yours to kind of find out what they've gotten from it, I'm certain we can find someone to connect you with and have a conversation before you submit a nomination.
I think another thing too, sorry, I'm chiming in, but you're not locked into this for any amount of years. So if you try EWL for 1 year and be like, I don't know, I'm going to try this. We've talked about the other members that have moved up to Tempo. So try it for 1 year, and you can still go to so many Tempo events and participate that way. So you may find yourself fitting more in Tempo, and that's fine. Then we could say that we moved another Tempo or another member up to Tempo, and that's good for us too.
Great point, Andrea. There's actually a question in the chat too about, is there a place in this group for more seasoned leaders? And that's also a conversation we would welcome you to reach out to Jen and have a conversation to figure out, is it Tempo or EWL that's the better fit for where you are right now? So you kind of saw what the qualifications for EWL are. If you saw those and think, oh, I might actually be a little bit too seasoned for that, I totally encourage you to reach out to Jen and she can help you figure out if Tempo is a better fit for you right off the start.
Great. I got a couple questions just about the logistics of the dues and the new member materials. So someone asked about that $385 and when you were charged that. So you join EWL, we send you a new member welcome packet with lots more information, and then you do get your invoice at that time. However, we know this has been a crazy year for individuals, organizations, industries. So we have a lot of members who do payment plans, who pay monthly, who pay quarterly, who maybe defer for 6 months until they can pay. So we're definitely happy to work on a case-by-case basis.
We're also happy to help you craft that conversation with your employer. If you think this is something they might be willing to cover, we can help you kind of with the data points, I'll call them, as to what you would get for that cost, to see if that's a conversation you would want to have to see if they would cover this, because there's a lot of professional developments included in what's covered in those dues.
And then another question along the lines of the nomination was, I just changed jobs. Should I get the letter of support from my current employer or from my previous employer who I was with for an amount of time? I think it's really up to you. We'll count either of those, whichever one you're more comfortable with.
Yeah, agreed.
If my manager is also my nominator, do I need a separate letter of recommendation outside of her? I believe it's one and the same, because the nominator writes a little description. Correct? How we handle that in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't have any, like, you're not going to get, excuse me, you're not going to get booted for it. I think the best way to look at it is, in this nomination process, is you have the opportunity to submit as many examples, as you think will help tell your story of why you'd be a great fit for this organization and what you'll get from it. So we're not going to be checking, we're not doing like reference checks to see if your letter comes from someone within your organization, but rather look at it as to see who's going to help me best tell the story of why I'd be a great fit for EWL. So if your manager is your nominator and you think that person is fully capable of waxing poetically about how wonderful you are, great. If you think that that person might have some blinders on some certain areas, maybe you have somebody else who can speak to community involvement, send a second letter.
All right, and then final question. Where is it? Oh, well, 2 more. So are there any additional costs outside of that $385 when I join? There are just a couple of events that are extra because they are major fundraisers for Tempo Milwaukee. So that is our leadership event. Some of you might have seen our event last year with Gabrielle Union. We put that on annually, and that is an extra individual ticket cost, as well as our mentor event, which is coming up in April. And I guess I would add a third one, but it's kind of niche, is our golf outing. The golf outing is not included in your member dues. It's an add-on if that's something that you like to do. It is certainly not something that I like to do, nor I'm good at.
Mart, we actually have a couple of others in the chat.
Go for it.
I'm gonna need some help with this one, so I'll ask if Laura came in swinging with, what would you summarize as EWL's top 3 volunteer achievements, and what are the organizations that EWL has made their biggest impacts on?
Love
Great
it.
question.
Love
Great
it.
question.
So we've done a few things since EWL launched over the past 5 years, and kind of trying to see what works and what doesn't and what members really like. The first year we had quarterly volunteer opportunities focused on women and girl nonprofits. So for example, volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club Gala at the registration table, cheering on girls at the Girls on the Run 5K, cleaning the kitchen at Joy House. So really giving members access to all sorts of different organizations. And then year 2, we really started to build a stronger partnership with Pearls for Teen Girls. So giving members more opportunity throughout the year to build connection and have different activities. Now, year 5, it's kind of a mix of both. So one, continuing that partnership with Pearls, but then also looking at what organizations could really use our help from this network of 300, and knowing that every single person who joins is involved in the community in some capacity, because that's a criteria. So looking at what are our members involved in and where can we band together and support. So that was kind of a long answer.
Yeah, Mark, can I jump in here too?
Yeah.
I think this was a great question, Laura, that you asked. I think one of the things that really highlights it for me is this is a little bit of a key differentiator, or a large key differentiator in terms of Tempo and EWL, in that you know, the community involvement and the community aspect and giving back to the community is certainly a priority and something that our Tempo members do, but EWL made it a priority and built it into one of their goals, that they wanted to make sure that their voice and their commitment to the community was heard, and making sure that this was one of their established pillars. And so that says a lot to me about the focus and the priorities of this group here, and is that we do have a strong give back to the community and organizations that we serve. So.
And I see another question that I knew we were going to get, so I'm glad it was asked about when are we going to be in person again? So I cannot wait to be back in person. I think we're all hopeful with warmer weather coming, vaccine progress, to start planning some smaller optional gatherings in the spring. So maybe it's a happy hour outside. Maybe it's going for a hike at one of Milwaukee's parks. So we're definitely starting to look at those opportunities again. And we survey EWL members annually at the end of the calendar year, but we are going to be surveying members every quarter to check in, see how people are feeling, and make sure that we're responding to the comfort level of members and what they really need. So I think we're not going to have an 800-person gala anytime soon, but definitely looking at those in-person smaller gatherings that people can plug into if they're comfortable.
Awesome. There's one other question about who will be in place of Gabrielle Union this year, and I'm pretty confidently I can say that that is still TBD. That event is usually held in the fall, so don't know yet, but we've had some real heavy hitters before Gabrielle Union. It was Kendra Scott, Jennifer Fleiss, was she leadership or mentor? Yeah.
Yeah, Jenny Fleiss, yeah.
Jenny Fleiss, who is the co-founder of Rent the Runway. So it's always a very impressive woman with an incredible story to share. And no doubt the team manages to pull out all the stops and top the previous year every single year of that event. So
TBD. But if you do have suggestions, or maybe a close family member is
Michelle Obama.
Yeah, exactly.
If Oprah
then let us
your
know.
cousin,
Yeah,
let
totally.
us know.
Yeah, we're always open.
Ooh, Serena Williams.
Yeah.
Love it.
I have a new personal goal. We're researching speakers for an event at work, and my new personal goal is to have a story that people care enough to spend the kind of keynote money that these keynotes get, because man, I wanted to give a half-hour talk from my couch and pull in those kind of dollars. It's wild. Okay, I think, Mara, do you have any other questions, or was that was your list as well?
I hope that I got everyone. I'll take a look, but maybe we can pick on Maggie or Jasmine or anyone else on the call to share a little EWL moment with us.
Yeah.
Well, why not? Hello, ladies. I am honored to be here. My name is Maggie Beckley. I am Director of Real Estate at Advocate Aurora Health, and I've been in Tempo EWL for, is this going into my 6th year? Because I was part of the 40 that came in the first year, and every year it has just gotten better. You know, we came in as a group, it was, what exactly are we going to do with EWL? What is it going to look like? And everything that Tempo envisioned for us, and we our hearts about what we wanted this to look like and our growth and development as emerging leaders, it has come to fruition and it's just gotten better every year. I will say I've gotten to the chance to meet amazing women across Milwaukee, across our community that I otherwise may not have had the chance to connect with and learn from. And really, more than anything, this past year has really solidified that this is my place. I found like a really good group to be connected with that has really helped me grow and learn, develop as a leader. And I'm just really proud to say that myself, as well as the women in EWL, we are really growing and learning and achieving our dreams, our goals, our aspirations through experiences and opportunities that's been afforded to us through EWL. And we are what's next, and we are the leadership that will reflect the community that we live in. And so I'm just really proud of that. Being one of the leadership co-chairs is being a part of that, to connect and have a say in our strategic planning and things of that nature. I could really just say wholeheartedly that we're really supported by Tempo, we're really supported by the community, and I'm just really proud to say that I'm a member of Tempo EWL. So I look forward to meeting more of you and growing into what I say is a family. I really do mean that. So look forward to meeting you all and hope you all decide to apply.
Maggie, you pulled that out being tapped on by surprise. Wow, I'm impressed. I'm going to pick on someone newer to Abby, who I nominated. You are fresh to EWL, so it would be great to hear a fresh perspective of a brand new. Mart, do you have the capability to unmute Abby?
I'm unmuted.
I think she can.
Oh,
yeah.
there she is.
Hey guys, I'm Abby. I am a communication strategist at Northwestern Mutual and just joined EWL in November. I actually just moved to Milwaukee for the first time in September and came in during a pandemic, not knowing anyone, not having a job, only me, my husband, and my toddler, and I was feeling super lonely and discouraged about my first steps in the community. And I was lucky enough to meet Angie, who kind of took me under her wing and immediately introduced me to EWL. And I'm honestly, it's been the greatest gift to me in my life. And I am so thankful for it. I work at NM partially because of Angie and Elise Brigman, who's also an EWL member. One of my team members is an EWL member, Amanda Wright. I've joined 2 committees during my time here. I've done the coffee connections every month. I'm really excited for the new EWL Connects to start. But it's just helped me so much, not only professionally while I was pivoting into this new job, new city, new people, it's also just helped feel like home. I love Milwaukee, but I haven't really seen much of it because of the pandemic. But just talking to the other members and learning about them and their history, and even questions as simple as like, what's a really good Mexican restaurant downtown that my husband and I should try? Like just those simple little things that have created connection points for me during this pandemic have been life-saving. And I want to, everyone that could use that connection piece, I wholeheartedly think you should apply. And I totally agree, EWL is what you put into it, but it gives the greatest rewards.
I can slide
Okay.
in.
Hi, Jasmine. Yes.
And good afternoon, everyone. Abby, you were great. It was hard to follow up after Maggie. Maggie just shut it down. But I'm Jasmine Deacon. I'm the program manager here at Pros for Teen Girls. And I joined Tempo in December of 2019. So I had just, just that quick intro of what it's like for the in-person events and so on right before we went into quarantine. So I started out, my path, I would say, is a little bit different than what was just recently shared, where I did take time to really observe first. So I went to a lot of different talks, and I went to some strategy meetings. It's really the big overarching, this is what Tempo is, and this is how we conduct. And then through the pandemic, I started to be involved a lot more. So I started to log into conversations that that went through how different organizations were connecting to their employees during the pandemic, being flexible with their employees during the pandemic, and how to lead in a time of so much uncertainty. And then Tempo Real Talks came along, and I'm like, I guess I'll participate in that as well. And so I was able to really get connected with other members. And then shortly after, I'm like, I may as well join the committee. So it is truly, your time here is truly what you make of it. I feel like there's no right way to do it. Just simply arriving fully as yourself and knowing that your contribution to spaces is just as important as what you take back from spaces. I'm happy to continue to say more words to anyone that is interested in connecting in a one-on-one. But I have found the way that I can go to Jen and say hi and laugh with Angie's daughter thinks that I'm Princess Jasmine. I think that's super. So just a way that we can all just connect and have business accomplished at the same time, and just relate, just build a relationship. Biggest thing that I got, and this will be my last point, through my learnings through Tempo conversations, I did get the courage to join a board for a local school. So just taking all of the things that I have found that's applicable in the leadership space from my job and here, I did that. So that was my big leap. So, and Elevate.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Abby. I think it becomes so clear when you hear people talk about what they get from this program that it really is magic. It really is not just professional development. It's kind of a life impact. And I didn't think I was gonna cry, but then here I am every single time I talk about Tempo crying. So no surprise to anyone who knows me, but it truly is. I think it's one of the rarest moments of my life where I have felt equal parts challenged, encouraged. That saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, is so true here. We are constantly looking at some of the best and brightest and strongest women in Milwaukee, and that inevitably changes how you see things and the empowerment that you get from it. But at the same time, I've never met a more vulnerable, a vulnerable, willing to connect, willing to share, willing to help group of women. So while I've never been more challenged in my entire life, I've also never felt more supported and encouraged. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am in positions that I am now and have successes that I do because of the women that I met through EWL. So I think that's all we have. Again, if you want to reach out, we are more than willing to have one-on-one conversations, answer questions that come up. If you are unsure of who could nominate you and you need help connecting with someone, we are happy to do that. You can reach out to Fran, Mara, myself, and we'll get you connected with some members. Even if you just want to hear experiences, perspectives, whatever it might be, we're happy to help ahead of that March 1 nomination period. So thank you for joining us. We hope to see you all again soon.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.